Hello, my name is Allison Carmen, and welcome to my podcast, 10 Minutes to Less Suffering. And the name of today's podcast is The Moment Leading Us in a New Direction. And this is on my mind today because this morning I listened to a lecture by Guy Finley, a very insightful spiritual teacher, and he often talks about this idea of resistance. And when he talks about it, he often brings us to the moment when someone says something that we don't like, the moment something happens that we don't like, when something is unexpected. Often our first reaction is to resist. And the problem is that resistance often continues, and it continues past the moment and can take over an entire meeting. It could take over a relationship. It could take over something that's going on in your life. And then what we're doing is we're talking about what should be happening, what shouldn't be happening. We're looking at the moment as our enemy, the person we're speaking to as against us. It creates this narrative about the reality that we had planned for. But all we're often doing is we are resisting the moment that's in front of us. And then on top of that, not only are we creating a pain from that resistance, we're also not fully present in the moment, aware of what is actually happening. Just off the top of my head, I could think of so many things that happened last week that in the moment, my first reaction was resistance. I was at a meeting that I thought we had come to a resolution on a matter. And all of a sudden, all these people were talking about different thoughts and different ideas about something that I thought was finalized. So I went into resistance. And because I went into resistance and I wasn't fully present, I was annoyed more than I was open. I was defensive instead of collaborative. And I didn't have to agree with anyone at that meeting. But in my mind, I was thinking this should not be happening, but it was happening. That's the thing. Everything in the moment should be happening because it is. And that is no resistance and acceptance. It doesn't mean we're not going to try to change it. I still stuck up for my ideas. And in the end, it all worked out and we went forward with the matter in the way that I had originally imagined it. But I spent 1 hour agonizing, resisting, defending. And if there was something there for me to see, if there was something there for me to experience, I was too busy arguing with reality to have that experience. And in the example I gave, I had the same result regarding the actual matter, but there were so many times where that doesn't even happen. That the moment brings us something and our first reaction is resistance, shutting down, and we can't even see what's in front of us. The discomfort of the moment shuts us down instead of opening us up. And that also does go back to our fear of the unknown, that we feel so uncomfortable and something feels so uncertain to us that we resist because we want to hold on to the same job, to the same path, to the same way, because that's more comfortable. But comfort does not always lead us to our greatest opportunities and our greatest possibilities. And these are just some examples. Again, it could happen in business, it could happen in a relationship, an opportunity. It could happen anywhere in your life. So how do we do this? How do we make sure that we're open to the moment? How do we make sure that we're listening to where life is trying to take us, or we're experiencing the moment, and most of all, not giving our peace away every minute of the day because we're trying to hold on to a thought or a way that is not serving us? And the first thing is awareness, is when you're in that moment that you feel the resistance. You could feel annoyed, you could feel an element of surprise, you could feel that peace inside of you slipping away. And instead of saying, oh no, it's not supposed to be like this, you're wrong, and turning our back, we sit and we open up and we realize instead of resistance, we're going to take a deep breath. Doesn't mean we're going to like what's happening, but we're going to feel the discomfort and we're going to allow it. And again, it doesn't mean you're not going to stick up for yourself. It doesn't mean you're not going to have a lot to say, but you don't give your peace away. You don't allow the situation to take it from you. Instead, you allow. This is supposed to be happening because it is. And you let everybody do their dance. And when it's time to speak, you speak. And when it's time to argue, you argue. And sometimes you'll let certain things go because you'll choose your peace instead. We mustn't give our power to things that we have no power over. And I think about that meeting last week. What would I have done differently? I think I would have held the fact that the matter was resolved, that people on the team wanted to discuss it. I would have sat back a little bit and allowed everybody to give their opinions. I would have stayed calm inside. I would have allowed the situation to unfold. And then when it was my time to speak, I would have presented the situation, presented the logic of the conclusion, and I think we would have ended up in the exact same place. But I would have had a different experience. And even if we didn't end up in the exact same place, what was I so attached to? It wasn't life-threatening. How did I know in the beginning that it would end up that way? Perhaps that open-mindedness and that lack of resistance allows for the best conclusion, even if it's not ours. So think about all the things that are going to come up this week. When someone you love says something you don't like, do you want to give your peace away? When people act the way they always do you want to give your peace away? When you're at a meeting and you don't like what's happening, do you want to give your peace away? Do you want to resist, or do you want to sit back and say, what is this moment showing me? Do I need to be more open? Do I need to be more patient? Can I choose being peaceful over being right? Your inner landscape really matters to your development as a human being. Your inner landscape really matters if you're going to allow people to create suffering in your life, or you're going to control how you feel. But most of all, you're going to enter every moment willing to see what life is giving you, willing to see the miracle, willing to see the new creation. And believe it or not, you'll accomplish more. You'll be so open that you'll collect the new ideas, whether they're from you, whether they're from someone else. Remember, detachment doesn't mean you don't care. You care even more. You're just allowing everything to be the way it is. And you get to feel what you want to feel about it. You get to feel uncomfortable, but you also get to live a life where everything is always new. And life never gets boring, and there are always new ideas on the horizons, new opportunities, and new people to meet, because you're not shutting down. You're not shutting down because you're grasping for certainty. You're not shutting down because you're annoyed or you're resisting or you're arguing with reality. You're open to life. You're open to the moment. And that's deep living. And that's aligning with who you are. It's authentic living. And it's letting go and embracing what you don't know. Because remember, life has maybe, so uncertainty is your best friend. So new things lead you down new paths. And I also hope you remember that in any given moment, there's always the potential that maybe the best is yet to come. Thank you for listening to this podcast today. If you'd like to get in touch with me, you could email me at allison@allisoncarmen.com. If you'd like to buy my books, The Gift of Maybe or A Year Without Men, they're available at all major bookstores and online platforms. And if you'd like to listen to my new audiobook for The Gift of Maybe, it's available on all major audio platforms. And my Maybe cards and my Maybe journal are currently available on Amazon, Etsy, and my Stan store on TikTok and Instagram. And most of all, if you like this podcast, I hope you subscribe and leave a comment.